just wanted to remind you to dream and dream big, and understand that your family and friends and loved ones, in most cases, boyfriends, girlfriends, they will be the first to try and talk you out of your dreams, your visions and ideas as to what you're supposed to do with your life. They will say, who wants you when you've already had 2 or 3 kids? Who wants you when you put on all that weight? Who wants you when you're looking like this and been through this?
I don't know really how to rest because I identify myself by what I do. And I tend to associate my worth with my work. Somebody say, I'm not what I thought I was. I always thought I was only as good as my trophy. I was only as good as my achievement. I was only as good. And so here's what I said back to my friend. I said, that's really cool. I said, I love that advice to rest and just let my subconscious work on my material. I said, that's a great creative tip. I said, it's kind of like when a computer renders.
I didn't want to get up in front of people. I was afraid and intimidated. I not only shut the door, I made sure it was deadbolted, put a couple chains on it. For 17 years, I made sure that door was securely locked. But when my father went to be with the Lord, God didn't knock on the door to see if I would open it. He didn't ask me for permission. He didn't check to see if it was unlocked. He came through the door.
The way to become a millionaire, if you could think of how to become a millionaire, you do it by Friday. You don't have to go that far. All you have to do is think of your God-given gift. All of you have the ability to make, you can charge, all of you can do something somebody will pay you $10 to do. I don't care if it's cutting grass, doing their hair, everybody can do something for $10. This is how I got to this place of success.
Sometimes when you're believing God for something, don't always think it's just going to show up in the mailbox or fall out of the sky. Walking with God means sometimes you got to wait on Him for wisdom, and you got to take a step of faith and do what you feel is right, the next step. And I can say that I'm healthy. I went to the doctor in December, got a checkup, and he said, you could not have a heart attack. He said, that is how good of a condition that you're in.
I need to just get somebody behind me who just goes, run! I don't need to wait for perfection. I'm gonna do something right now. I choose to get fit, I choose to walk, I choose to run, I choose to go join a club. I'm doing it now. A breakthrough happens the moment you make a new choice. And you don't have to wait. You can just get yourself in a new state. Maybe this tape will get you doing, or you just have to have a new thought that says, you know what? I made choices in the past. I'm overweight because I chose to eat this and this. I'm not gonna eat it anymore. I'm changing now.
Sympathy is a feeling, compassion is an action. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. God's loved you so much that He came to you. There was an action attached to it. That I actually am a person of compassion. It's not enough just for us to feel bad for one another. We actually have to do what we can for one another. Everybody wants to change the whole world, but nobody wants to start in their own backyard.
Let's go. Because why? What I found out through my life was I thought of myself as some weak little kid. And what I found out, and the only message I want to get across to people is once you change one thing, your mindset, you can attack everything. And I find it fascinating. I'm fascinated.
Get up, go, fight on. And if that is what become, if that becomes your fundamental reaction to adversity, if that becomes your gut instinct, then you will overcome just about anything that stands in your path. There's been thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of warriors that have been in very stressful situations.
And I think what happens is we make the situation more complex than it has to be.
Because we're looking for complexity. There's got to be something complex to understand.
It can't be that easy.
The road to success is through commitment and through the strength to drive through that commitment when it gets hard. And it is going to get hard, and you're going to want to quit sometimes, but it'll be colored by who you are and more who you want to be.
I want to finish strong. I don't want to just casually get to the end of life and oh, well, that was a nice ride. No. My goal is to finish strong. There's some things that I want to get done in 21. And I'm looking for some people who feel the same way. But how many of you listening to me right now that you want to finish strong?
Discipline cooperates with nature. Everything strives. It is a common life function. How tall will a tree grow? As tall as it can. Everything strives to become all it can possibly be. And that striving to become is what discipline is all about. Disciplining ourselves to fulfill our natural potential to become all that we can be. And finally, discipline attracts opportunity. Opportunity is always looking for ambition and skill in action.
What are we talking about when we talk about a belief? What does it mean that you have beliefs? Well, how are beliefs structured? So that was a psychological question rather than a political or economic question, and that took me a long time to figure out because I didn't know if the fundamental question was going to be sociological or economic or psychological, and it turned out to be psychological, or perhaps it turned out to be spiritual. That's another way of thinking about it. And if you could grasp belief, what would constitute a credible belief? What would it mean for a belief to be credible?
The challenge that you're facing and the stress that you're facing right now is temporary, which will help you take a deep breath and remind yourself that on the road ahead, there are better days coming. And the second reason why I love this idea of remind yourself that this is temporary is because right now, it is so important that you hold on to your dreams because life, after all, is temporary. And if this challenge is temporary, one of the things that will pull you through it, everybody, is dreams.
Nobody's interested in you. Nobody's checking for you. They'll laugh at you. They'll call you names because they have no dreams. They have no hunger for success. They don't have an appetite. They don't want it. I want to win so bad. My hunger and appetite for success is intimidating. It scares the shit out of people. I come up with new visions and ideas every single day, and people around me say, slow down, stop.
My friend was trying to get me to see, you got the right idea, but you got the wrong identity. You're not a machine. I know every parent sometimes just feels like a vending machine, and then an Uber, and then a referee, and then what else you feel like? Parents, what you feel like sometimes? I feel like if I'm not driving them somewhere, cleaning something up, I'm a housekeeper, I'm a short order chef, but I'm not. That's not all I am.
Some of the doors that have been closed for a long time, you need to get ready. God is about to show out in your life. One touch of His favor, one good break, one contract, one healing, meeting one right person will catapult you to a new level. What I love is even when we lock the door, even when we let fear, insecurity, intimidation cause us to shrink back, God says, that's no problem for me. Fear can't keep me out.
Whatever you do to make $10, this gift that God has given you at birth, because God never created a soul He didn't give a gift to. All of you have one. All of you have one. I don't care if it's frying chicken. Some of you fry chicken better than anybody else, bake pie, do hair, something. Do whatever it is for $10. After you make the $10, I want you to do it 10 more times. You'll now have $100. After you make $100, whatever you did to make the $100, that $10 idea, I want you to do it 10 more times.
I'd like to be one of the ones that just gets miracles all the time, but God just makes me walk a lot of stuff out. And I think that's because He just wants me to have enough experience to be able to share with people who have to do it that way. God does miracles. He's alive and well, and our first line of defense is always to believe God for an outrageous miracle. The miracle to me when I had breast cancer was that they found a tumor that was so tiny that they said if a good technician wouldn't have read that mammogram, that I would have been dead within a year.
You can change your whole life real fast with just a few choices. But if you don't make the right choices, eventually you're going to face a crisis. Crisis is when you made so many poor choices that sooner or later life shows up, and instead of asking gently for you to change and improve, to grow, to make progress, to be happy, life, when it's a crisis, now demands change. It isn't asking anymore. We talked about changing, and we knew we had to change, and now a crisis happens, and guess what? Nobody has a choice. The game has changed.
Who can you be compassionate towards today? How can you walk in harmony? And he says, you gotta be humble. You gotta be humble, man. He's telling you right now that this matters. Humility is the key ingredient to a community. It's a preferring of other people. You're saying, but Rich, I thought you were talking to me about how to suffer well. I am. I'm letting you know that when pressure hits the outside of our body, there's gotta be something that we're already doing on the inside.
I'll be in these moments. I put these guys on some pedestal.
Yeah. Which people do with you.
They do with me, and they shouldn't. And I was this guy who was a piece of shit looking at these, oh my God, how are you guys this amazing? But once I worked my way up there, I said, my God, man, we can all compete. Let's go. So, do I like suffering? I like suffering in the way that is competitive, that brings out the absolute best in me and in everybody else.
I was feeling stress. And you know what? We took casualties and it was awful and it was heartbreaking. But there were other soldiers and warriors throughout time that have been in much worse situations. Gettysburg or Vicksburg or the Battle of the Bulge. And all those horrible situations, they prove really that humans can withstand almost unimaginable stress.
Only thing that I can see, and you can never really look at yourself, the only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill, right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked,
right?
Period. Yeah. You know, you might have more talent than me, you might be smarter than me, you might be sexier than me.
When I'm looking at my life as a father, as a grandfather, that what I do, how I approach my life, how I use my time, who I spend time with, who I will even get a telephone call from and speak to. This is the time, and I want you to write this down and share some points, because my goal is to finish strong.
Discipline taps the unlimited power of commitment, the human will in action, driven by inspiration, enticed by desire, tempered by reason, guided by intelligence, can bring you to that high and lofty place called the good life. Discipline, those unique steps of intelligent thought and activity that put a lid on temper and a faucet on courtesy, that develop positive and control negative, that encourage success and deter failure.
Children will get together and play pretend games, and what they'll do is they act out a simulation of the world. Maybe they play house. They all get together and they cast each other in different roles. And then they each act out those roles, and they do that in order to simulate something important that they're going to have to adapt to. But children playing games can play the games in a group, but if you take them out of the group and you ask them what the rules of the game are, they don't know. They can't articulate the rules of the game. Yet when you put them together in the group, they can play the game.
If you don't have your dreams right now, you're giving up on yourself. And so one of the reasons why I'm telling you, remind yourself this is temporary. Take proactive steps to lower the stress level in your body and settle your nervous system and change your expectations about what you're capable of doing in one day. You'll remove some of the self-imposed stress, okay?
You're doing too much. Your appetite is too big. I can't help myself. I want to win. I'm a billionaire. I was a change-aire. I was a dollar-naire. I was a thousandaire. I am a millionaire. There's only one step left. The billion. I don't think I'll see a trillion. But I know I'll see a billion. I believe it.
That's not all I am. That's not all I am. Do you feel God on that? That's not all I am. Now, that might be all I've experienced up to this point, but that's not all I am. That's not all I'm not just the woman with the issue of blood. That's not all I am. I'm not just Jairus, the synagogue leader. I'm also a dad. I need ministry. I need a touch. I need refreshing. I need a flow. I need a prayer answered. Yeah, that's not all I am.
It seems like the door has closed on your dreams. You'll never get into college, never meet the right person, never have that baby. Every circumstance says it's too late. That door is locked. It's never going to open. Just smile and say, it doesn't have to open. God, thank you that you're about to come through the door. Thank you that you're making a way where I don't see a way. Thank you that closed doors can't stop what you have for me.
Now, it's gonna get a little more difficult, but after you make $1,000, whatever you did to make the $1,000, I want you to do it 10 more times. You now have $10,000. Now we gotta focus now. Whatever you did to make $10,000, that started off with your $10 idea, what I want you to do is focus. I want you to do it 10 more times. You now have $100,000.
In the last month, I've been having a real issue with my back. Well, first thing you pray for is a miracle. But in the meantime, I'm listening to God and I'm doing my part, and I'm like, okay, God, I get it. The doctor gave me home exercises to do to keep my back loose in the meantime. Do I do them? No. When do I do them? When I have an emergency. He didn't say do them when you have he said do them all the time. So it's like, I've been seeing things that I wasn't doing that maybe if I would have been doing my part, I might not be in this situation.
What crisis does is it melts us down. It melts us down so that we can recast our life. We can remold ourselves. And usually on the other side, our life is greater because as we go through that crisis, we have to grow. Everybody wants change, nobody wants to do it. Everybody, I should say, wants progress, but nobody wants to change. Everybody wants their life better, but nobody wants to do the push-ups, the running, have the economic or emotional discipline to make it happen. But if you're watching this right now and you're still with me, some part of you wants more.
I'm walking in harmony, that I'm being sympathetic, that I'm feeling what they feel, that I'm loving as brothers. Hey, you can say, don't you dare say something about my brother. Don't you dare say something about, I'm being compassionate and I'm being humble. Why? Because this is leg day. And I know it doesn't look like much right now, but I'm telling you, it's gonna have a consequence tomorrow. He said, all right, this is leg day. This is to live in harmony. You gotta get this because you're gonna need some other muscles if you're gonna respond correctly to suffering.
I want to see a man be defeated. I want to see a man get broken and say, I love these men. These men I love, but there's very few of them. There's very few of them. And there's very few that are willing to go there more than once. My mom didn't know how bad my grades were. She never saw one report card. I hit everything from, and she didn't ask. She was so bogged down with life. And so I got away with a lot of because her mind was occupied.
And the first step for me is doing that, taking that look to gain some perspective. And then in order to gain perspective, you gotta do something that we already talked about. You've gotta detach. You've gotta detach from the problems or the stress that you're experiencing so that you can get that perspective of them. Now, there's a couple different types of stress. Now, if it's something that you can control that's causing you stress, well, why aren't you getting control of it?
You might be all of those things, you got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm gonna die. It's really that simple, right? So let's go back to the question about what if people block me out. It's gonna be 2 options. I'm gonna get back in, or I'm gonna be dead. Right? It's like, you're not going to outwork me. It's such a simple, basic concept.
Here's what I know about this thing called life. It is so unpredictable, and unlike any time that I've ever experienced in being on the planet. I've never been in a place where you are mindful of the very air that you breathe. You need in this thing called life that I know that's required is the ability to breathe. That's major.
Discipline. The start and the continuing process that brings all good things, that design lifestyle and control frustration, that enhance health and curb sickness, that promote happiness and manage sadness. And remember, anyone can start the process. It's not if I could, I would. It's if I would, I could. If I will, I can. So start the new process. You can begin a new habit no matter how small it is.
When we all get together and play a game like the one that we're playing in this room, for example, we all can play the game when we're together, but if you brought us out and said, well, what are the rules, we wouldn't be able to articulate them. And then I thought, well, that means that those rules evolved in a real sense, like they evolved in a behavioral competition. And I thought, well, that's a lot like what's happening with animals. If you look at how a chimpanzee troop is organized, or a wolf pack, they have to interact with one another in a manner that sustains the group, because otherwise they all die.
I can't even begin to think about what my dream is. The reason why you can't even begin to think about what your dream is, and how many of you can relate to that? Are you kidding me, Mel? Like, my day feels like triage. I don't have a clue what the heck I want. I just want to get through the day. If that's your experience of life, first of all, you're not alone. Secondly, your life doesn't have to be that hard. Things around you can be hard, but you can do little things. Remember, I'm the gal that's all about how the little things that you do can change everything that you do.